Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be working on the Civic. We are actually going to be replacing the clutch in the Civic. The guy I bought it from said all it needs is a throwout bearing. Well, he said the throwout bearing is making some noise, but this clutch feels horrible. It doesn't grab until the very last second, and it's actually pretty hard to drive. So we are going to go ahead and just knock out the clutch. What we need to do is, well, I want to do the clutch first, just so I'm comfortable driving the car to do all the other stuff I need to do in it, like go wash it and whatnot. But we're going to go ahead and start on the clutch. I bought an Amazon clutch for like $80, so we'll see how that goes. Seems like a pretty quality clutch to me, and if you guys want to buy it, I'm going to link it down in the description. Here, I'll just show it to you. Here's the box. It's all wrapped up. We've got alignment tool, throwout bearing, and grease. Here is the clutch. And here is the pressure plate. So it all looks pretty good to me. I am curious what I'm going to find on this car when I start looking around on it. But anyway, we will go ahead and jump right into it. I think I'm going to start at the top of the car, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the starter. And then I'm going to go ahead and just jack the car up. So we'll start with the top, take out the air intake, and then the starter. Guys, there's a plug down here going to the top of your transmission. I just took that out. I just removed the starter, and then the wires going to the starter. Now I'm going to remove the bracket that the clutch line is going to, that's down here. All right, guys, let me explain everything I just did. So I took the starter out that was down there. There was two wires going to it. I just disconnected those. I disconnected all the clutch lines. So right there, you can see there was some bolts, took those out. Same thing with right there, this bracket. I took that out and put the bolts back in so I don't lose them. There was another bracket right here, I unbolted. And then there was some plugs. I went ahead and unplugged that one and this one. So I pretty much just, everything I saw that was connected to the transmission, I went ahead and disconnected from the top side. Also, there's a plug back here, right there, that I disconnected. And I did go ahead and loosen those two bolts right there, just to avoid dealing with that later on. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and jack the car up, take the wheels off, and then start working down there. You ever seen lug nuts like this?
Yeah, those look like what's on the freaking Jeep, dude.
How do you get that off? Okay, this has some weird lug nuts on it, so we're gonna do this without taking the wheels off. All right, guys, first thing we're gonna do is remove this exhaust to get it out of the way. I'm just gonna spray these bolts with WD-40. All right, guys, my exhaust bolts are screwy. So I'm removing this dust cover right here first. We're just gonna see if we can get it off without removing the exhaust. I think we're gonna have to remove the exhaust, but we will find out. All right, guys, let me show you what you're doing. So I had to put the camera down, but I removed this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, and then it's dark, hold on. And then that one right there. I'm not gonna deal with this exhaust, or I'm gonna really try not to. So we're just gonna move, I just moved the dust cover all the way over, and then I'm just gonna move on because that shouldn't get in the way of anything. All right, guys, now we're back here towards the back of the transmission by the shift linkage. We have to remove this bolt. There's a nut on the other side. And then we have to drive this pin right here with like a punch. We have to drive that out. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got those out, just took that bolt out and then pried that out of there. Then we took this pin out of that hole. I just used a punch and hammered it up in there. This is a 5/16 punch. All right, we're back. It has been a couple days since that last clip because one, I took a trip to Nashville, and two, I had to wait on a part. I had to wait on a socket because these lug nuts are some special 6-spline key. So I had to wait on this in order to take the wheels off. I said I was gonna do it without taking the wheels off, but then I realized you gotta take the wheel off to get to the lower control arm bolt to pop the axle out. So anyway, let's jump right back into it. First thing we're going to do is pull the wheels off and then pop out the lower control arm bolts and pull the axles out. All right guys, now we're gonna remove all the transmission bolts, all the bolts bolting it up to the engine around the bell housing. I do still have these two motor mounts. These two motor mounts over here bolted up. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and undo the forward-most one just to get that out of the way. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right guys, we're back on the GoPro. I just wanted to show you up underneath the car, the 3 bolts that we're working with down there. So I'm gonna come under here. Let's go ahead. Well, you see that hole up there? That is one of the bolts, and then you've got those 2 there. Okay, now rotate it, but towards me this time. Yeah, see how it's going? Keep going. Rock it a little bit. Now rotate it. Rotate it. Okay, hold on.
Right, what it says.
There's the transmission. We got the transmission out. There it is. There's 3 bolts on the back lower side of the transmission. And then we have 5. There's 4 bell housing bolts there. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's another bell housing bolt. So there's 5 bell housing bolts, and then there's like 3 bolts on that lower motor mount down on the bottom. Anyway, here's our old clutch. It doesn't look too bad. It is a 6-puck, which I'll just be putting the regular clutch back in. But the throwout bearing was starting to make noises, and you can see that it's rusted and dirty. So I figured we'll put a new throwout bearing in there, and while we're doing that, might as well do a clutch. So anyway, let's go ahead and throw this clutch back in and bolt everything back up. The pressure plate bolts get torqued to 19 foot-pounds. Alright, so my mic died during the outro of this, so we're going to do a little voiceover here. We got everything bolted up back together except for the two hubs, the lower ball joints. The lower ball joints are just spinning because the studs are kind of screwed up, so I have to fix those before we bolt that back up, put the wheels back on, and put it back on the ground. But as far as the clutch and transmission goes, that is all done. It feels good. Clutch pedal feels good. I probably should bleed the clutch a little bit, and I should probably add some transmission fluid just to make sure it's at a good level. But yeah, so we got everything back in. There's 5 bell housing bolts, and then there's 3 bolts on a motor mount towards the back of the engine, which you guys have seen. Don't forget about the starter and the 2 wires on the starter. This bracket I'm pointing to right here, I took that completely off. The front one I did not take off, but that back one I took completely off, unbolted it, got it out of the way. There's 2 wires on your starter. One is a nut and one is a plug. Don't forget about those. And then obviously don't forget to plug your battery back in. But that was it for this video, and I thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in for more videos to come on this Civic and my Subaru.